Spirit, Farther Along from 1976. The masterpiece it could have been. In the mid-70s, Spirit recorded 4 albums for Mercury Records: Spirit of 76, Son of Spirit, Farther Along and Future Games. Spirit during that period consisted of Randy California and Ed Cassidy. They were the core. For live and studio performances, they would use a number of other musicians, basically whoever was available at that time. Farther Along, though, was a sort of reunion for the original band that had split up in 1971. So you had Randy California on guitar, Ed Cassidy on drums and percussion, Mark Andes on bass, John Locke keyboards. The only member who was missing was the original vocalist, Jay Ferguson. Ferguson at the time was just starting his own solo career and was also touring with Joe Walsh and his band. So they brought in Matt Andes, Mark's brother, as a second guitarist. Now, for those who don't know, Matt is one of the best slide guitarists I've ever heard. So my hopes were really high for this album. In concert at the time, California was on fire as a guitarist and as a performer. The same could be said for Ed Cassidy, who now in his early 50s was, in my book, hitting his peak as a drummer. The interplay between Randy and Ed was instinctive, almost telepathic, incredibly dynamic. They bounced off each other like only great musicians can. So, like I said, my hopes were really high for this album. And maybe, just maybe, a full reunion of the original band might be on the cards. Well, Farther Along did turn out to be a fine record, but for me it was only a shadow of what it could have been. To me, it had everything in place to be an absolute barnstormer, a masterpiece of an album, but it didn't quite turn out that way, in my opinion. So let's have a deep dive into the album, and I'll give you some of the reasons why I think like that. Track 1, Farther Along. The first thing that captures your ears as this track opens is the beautiful production on this record. It's magical. It has that very 70s LA sound, that LA sheen, as I call it. So, the track starts with Randy's finger-picked acoustic, swirling strings, a little choppy rhythm guitar and piano. As the bass and drums enter, it lifts into a country-style shuffle. And catch Mark Andes' bass line at 1 minute 5 seconds in. Mark at this time had been jamming with some African musicians, and he says that's where he pinched that bass line. Like all great pop rock songs, it lifts you up, puts you down, and then lifts you up again. And like so many of Randy's best songs, it's about hope. Believing in yourself. Keep going. Farther along. Things will change. You'll see the light. You got the sight. This song, by all rights, should have been a massive hit single for the band. Unfortunately, it didn't receive any airplay whatsoever. Though in the summer of 1977, a few UK radio stations picked up on it, and they played it constantly throughout the summer, but sadly again, it still didn't make the charts. Now, just as the track begins to fade in the mix, you get these great country guitar licks from Randy California, and he duels with John Locke's piano, but it fades far too soon. Track 2, Atomic Boogie. Spirit do funk? Yep. Quite simply, Atomic Boogie lampoons the lunacy of nuclear weapons. And it's all done to a funky groove that Parliament and Funkadelic would have been proud of. In fact, it could sit quite easily into any of those bands' albums. The only problem with it is it's crying out for some blistering guitar work from Randy and Matt. Take a listen to it and then imagine some Eddie Hazel and Michael Hampton licks on it. They would fit perfectly. Next up, World Eat, World Dog. Very much a late night jazz groove here. Beautiful multi-track vocals, sinuous bass, Cassidy ticking away the rim shots on his snare drum, some cool, jazzy, understated lead guitar, and the strings echo the spacious soundscapes from the band's third album, Clear. And California's knack for writing killer melodies is in full evidence. Just one more time in your life, you turn your back and say, it's a world eat world dog out there, and nothing's going your way. Now, when the band played this live in 1976, after the first verse, the bass would step up a notch and get really funky. Cass would then join in with some very Santana, very Latin-like drums. Randy would then join in on the mood and add in some very liquid lead runs. Again, very much like Carlos Santana. It transformed a great song into an absolute classic. Stony Night. What can I say about this track? It's one of my all-time favourites. The mood is set from the opening seconds with the thunder and the rain is just beating down. You have John Locke's piano and it's joined by Ernie Watts' sinuous, weaving saxophone. At 23 seconds, in come the rest of the band, augmented with a pumping horn section, and they just punch it out. Randy's slightly echoed lead vocals, Stony Night, what a lonely night. The shutters are all down, spreading fire as you desire to melt into the ground. The middle section allows Watts to break free with a killer sax solo. And it's backed up by those horns, like I said, just punching it out. I love a great horn section. New Year's Eve, 1976, at the Bottom Line Club, New York. Spirit played a show. Now, instead of Ernie Watts' sax solo, Randy takes flight on guitar. I've never heard so much emotion pour out of 6 wire strings stretched over a piece of wood. And I never knew what people meant by that expression. He made the guitar cry, until I heard that solo. It was like every note came directly from his soul. Now, as good as Ernie's solo is, and it is a great solo, Randy's came from another planet. Next up is Pineapple. It's an okay instrumental, it's a bit of fun, but personally I would have put in Genetic Dreams. Genetic Dreams is a cool, up-tempo jazz instrumental written by John Locke. It's very futuristic, it's very spacey, and it keeps very much in line with the jazz leanings of the original band, and would have allowed all the players to show off their jazz rock chops. I'll include a link in the description. Colossus would end the original vinyl copy of the album. Now, it's another good song, but to my ears is a bit undercooked, a bit underdeveloped. A better choice for me would have been the atmospheric, moody Somebody Loves You. Again, a link in the description. The track has an almost Americana, a country flavour, especially in the instrumentation. It's very mid-70s Neil Young. Megastar. Now, I've gone on a bit about how I felt there should have been much more guitar on this album. Much more. And I guess Randy felt the same. For when this song was included on Spirit, the Mercury Years, Randy just drenched it in his liquid fire lead breaks. Megastar also, though, gives John Locke a chance to shine on piano and synthesizers. The track is all about the megastars in the music business and how they live in an unreal world. And maybe, just maybe, some of it might be directed to an absent band member. Who knows? Track 2 would have been Phoebe. A lovely atmospheric instrumental, but the band had better tracks in the locker. Right here, I would have placed the unreleased Spirit track, Let Me Be Your Daddy. Now, one facet of Randy's guitar playing that gets very overlooked in my book is that he could be so damn funky when he wanted to. Let Me Be Your Daddy could well have been the template for Gorn Attack from future games, especially the second half of that piece where Randy comes in with some really funky electric guitar. Also, Let Me Be Your Daddy boasts some stunning interplay between Randy and, to my ears, Ernie Watts on sax. Why it was left in the vaults and is still there in the vaults, I don't know. Next up, Don't Lock Up Your Door, which is a perfect country rock song, very much in the spirit, forgive the pun, of the Byrds, proving again that the band could turn their hand to any musical genre and do it superbly. Next up, I would have included Randy's Lake of Love. It was written during a stay he had high up in the Hollywood Hills, and the demo is included in the description below. Why Randy and Spirit never recorded a full version of this song I will never know, for it's a beautiful mainly acoustic number, with Randy adding simple but effective counterpoints on bass guitar. As well as this, he adds in an electric guitar, and he leans heavily on the sustain pedal. The effect that creates is of a wordless vocal weaving in and out of the song. It's quite simply beautiful. Once with you. Whenever I hear this song, I think of standing on the cliffs, looking out at the ocean on a summer's day. Now think for this one, Paul McCartney on piano and George Martin's wonderful orchestral arrangements. I'm going to read the Wikipedia entry for chamber pop because it sums up the track perfectly. Chamber pop is a style of rock music characterized by an emphasis on melody and texture. The intricate use of strings, horns, piano and vocal harmonies, and other components drawn from the orchestral and lounge pop of the 1960s. Artists such as Burt Bacharach and the Beach Boys' Brian Wilson, especially on the band's 1966 album Pet Sounds, were formative acts during the genre's original wave in the 1960s. Next up, Diamond Spirit. A friend of mine, writing a review about Farther Along back in 1976, said about Diamond Spirit, "It's where you can see God in 2 minutes 26 seconds. Yes, it's that good. It opens with stately strings which are then joined by horns, and they lead ever so carefully into Randy's acoustic guitar and some simple but effective bass slides from Mark Andes. But don't worry, help is on its way. You've been living for the day, but right now, it's Diamond Spirit." But it's Randy's voice that steals the show here. In his early days, he didn't have a lot of confidence in his abilities as a vocalist, but here he just lets go, and his voice soars. You have the orchestra working away like crazy behind it, and the harmonies, they are breathtaking. Now, the original album would have ended with an orchestral version of Nature's Way. And I know Randy loved that version of that song, and it really brings out the melody of the song. But just before it, I would have placed a version of Rock and Roll Planet. The power trio of Randy, Ed and Larry Knight on bass started playing this around 1979 live. But Randy recorded the song much earlier. It's one of those songs that make you feel good. It gets your toes tapping. It's a gem of a pop rock song. And I'm going to include a link to one of those live versions in the description below. But you can see how it gives Randy the chance to just explode on guitar. My imaginary recorded version would have Randy and Matt in the studio trading licks off each other, which I believe would have been just sensational. So there you have it, my perfect version of the album Farther Along. For me, that perfect version would have shown off all the facets of the band, especially the jazz rock side. In retrospect, I do feel the album at the time had a kind of rush feel. Maybe that was because of time constrictions and the members just didn't have the time to sit down and fully construct the songs as they wanted to. Who knows? So, thank you for listening. I'd appreciate it if you gave us a like or a dislike, and if you feel you really want to, please subscribe to the channel. It helps us build the channel and go forward in the future. But most of all, more important than any of that, stay safe, stay well, and I'll see you in the next video.